Welcome to Shade
Get
in the
Shady in the
City.
city.
I'm your girl Treese.
It's Nels.
And today, y'all know we are here to get into the Family or Fiance season 4, episode 4. Their names are
Ghost
Oleathia
of
and Terrance.
relationships past.
What is it? Ghost of Relationships
Ghost of
Past?
relationships past.
I don't know where she finds these names, but because
It
mine
says
said
it at the
Oleathia.
top.
Huh?
It says it at the top.
No, I promise you mine does it. I don't know. I think it's what you're watching it on because I'm watching it on the own app. I promise you.
Why would you? No, I'm sure it says
No,
it.
I promise you, it says Oleathia and Terrance on there. That's the
Well,
name
it
of it.
says that too.
Oh, well, anyway. So, yeah, y'all. If you haven't already, please make sure that you hit that like button for us.
And that subscribe button.
And y'all, let's jump right into it. And yeah, let's get shady. So, Oleathia and Terrance. Now, I'll throw their picture up there when I edit it. But y'all see them in the background. They met back in 2017 after being introduced by some friends. Now, please keep in mind that Oleathia also goes by Butter. So some of my notes say Butter and some say Oleathia. That's who I'm talking about. They the same person, okay? So she's an international recording artist and songwriter. She apparently was on her way out of town when I guess so they met in 2017, I guess at we'll get into that where they met. But anyway, and then apparently in 2019 she fell. She had to have a surgery. She was out of commission for months, is what it sounds like. And so he moved into her home. And she said he swooped in like a superhero and helped her around the house and with her boys because she wasn't able to walk or nothing. So they believe that this is when their bond became solidified. Now, neither of their families have met at this point, and they're supposed to be getting married in 6 weeks. Let me add that point. They're getting married in 6 weeks, so they have a set date. It's happening. Okay. I ain't even gonna hold you. I don't think it would have mattered what happened in this street unless he said something like, "I don't like your kids." I don't think it would have changed the fact that they was gonna walk down this aisle, in my opinion. So then they meet T McMillan. Shout out to T McMillan. And she tells him go tour the house. And so then they sit down with Tracy to fill her in on their engagement. And they tell her that they met at an award show. There we go. So that's how they met. They met at an award show. They were both nominated for different awards, obviously for her performing and him for, did I get this right?
He was a
Cooks.
best author and health and wellness coach.
Why did I think he cooks?
I mean, health and wellness. I guess you have to learn how to cook healthy
That's true.
meals.
That's true. Okay. 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 So then Alethea talks about how supportive he was during her recovery. And then they talk about the relationship with her boys and how she feels like he feels she has too much patience with her sons, and he feels a little stifled because he'd like to speak up a little bit more, but he doesn't want to overstep. Tracy then gets into their previous marriages. Alethea says, she was young and basically, they just kind of grew apart. Her and her ex-husband, they weren't connecting anymore. But her real trauma comes from the fact that they had a nasty divorce in 2016. So she met him in 2017 and she got divorced in 2016. So already, I ain't trying to judge nobody in their process, but that seems a little close. And it sounds like you still had some healing to do or work on yourself before.
Clearly, because it still it's rolling over into this one.
Right. So she said she was really taken aback by how her ex-husband or her ex-mother-in-law, um, how nasty she was to
Kind
her.
of iced her out.
What happened?
Said kind of iced her out. It seems like.
Right. So obviously she admits that this affects the relationship with Terrance's mom because she's guarded. And so, she's Butter done invited her mama. I didn't get her name. My apologies.
Roslyn.
Rosalind, her son Decory. I really like his name. I think that's beautiful. And
Mhm.
her son Christian. I've always loved that name. Terrance has invited his mother, brother, and his brother's wife.
Patricia, Jermaine, and Danielle.
Thank you. Thank you. This is why I need a co-host. Um, so he admits that his mother is a little bit of a firecracker, which she did not give me that at all. She gave me very sweet. So Tracy gives them
Uh,
their chat.
there was one time where she gave me she could be a firecracker.
Oh, okay. Well, Tracy gonna give them their task, and we all know what the task is because we see it every
Question,
episode. Questions, asking all the
asking questions.
asking all
Exactly.
the questions. Um, so yeah, but the only difference is Terrence gets to cook while he asks his questions.
I get put to work.
Right. And so Tracy, asks what happens if they don't get the blessing from the family, and he's a little bit worried that that might make her change her mind. And like I told y'all, I don't know about y'all. Drop down in the comments if you disagree with us, but I absolutely believe they were going to walk down the aisle regardless, unless it was something
Hmm. Yeah.
crazy.
So his family got there. Danielle said that she was excited to have a new sister-in-law, but she felt like she was more excited than Butter.
Did
Okay.
anybody else see that?
Yeah, I definitely saw that.
The fact that she walked in the door and the sister had to be like, "Hey," and it wasn't I'm greeting you. You're coming in. Why wouldn't I? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That was
Hmm.
I noticed
But I
that.
felt like she was even like that with her family too. I was waiting for when her family came in for her to go out to
Oh,
her
and
family.
I didn't peep that. So
No,
okay.
I definitely did. Now she said that she feels that she has yet to embrace the family. Then his mom Patricia said she hasn't spoke to her since Thanksgiving. She tries to call her and gets her voicemail. The brother said it's giving she don't want to do with us for real. Okay, so Alicia's family gets there, and her mom said she wants to understand Terrance's background better. The boys said when they argue, sometimes Terrance will go in the basement and he'll spend hours and sometimes days not speaking. And they feel like Terrance is still kind of a mystery. So the family addressed their concerns. Danielle said she would like to see the family to see them. I'm sorry, to see them more affectionately. Um,
Interact more affectionately with each other. Yeah.
exactly. And she's hoping to get to know Butter better and hoping that she opens up some more. His brother said he wants to get to know her better as well and wants to know the dynamics between their relationships. Patricia said that she wants to get to know Butter. I keep on saying Butter because my notes say Alicia and I know it's not Alicia.
Oh yeah, it's Alethea, but it's okay.
Alethea, there you go. That's this girl's name. She wants to get to know Butter's family better, and she wants a daughter-in-law type of bond. Christian said he doesn't want there to be so much arguing, and he doesn't feel like
He's a very smart and he's a
that's he
very
is
smart and
and well
what's the word
spoken.
that I'm looking for?
He's well
Um,
spoken, also
there's
articulate.
articulate. That's exactly what I want. Thank you. That's the word I
Mhm.
was looking for. He's very articulate.
Basically, he doesn't. He wants to know how the two families are gonna kind of mesh together. Rosalind said she wants to get to know his family and wants to know once they get married that Terrance is going to still respect the boys. Corey wants to know the family a bit more and wants to make sure that his mom is happy, which kind of threw her for a loop. She was kind of
Right.
confused as to why
He would say that. Why would
he
he
would
think that
say
I'm not
that.
happy?
And they let the family know their task. So what their tasks are, and basically, yes, it's asking all them questions.
Right. So then his family asked her thoughts on what Christian had to say about her and Terrence arguing. She admits that Terrence does vocalize his anger loudly. And so his brother actually jumps in to play advocate for him and says that, he sometimes also has to step away to calm down, may take an hour and she has to make it clear, no, no, no. This is just not for a few hours. These are like days at a time.
And said
And
that's not normal.
right. So they ask her what she wants from the
And
family.
then Patricia said it is for him. That's where I felt like that's
Oh,
what it,
his mama. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right.
that's why I felt that little fire. I was like,
Okay.
oh,
Okay, I did hear that. I did hear that. So they ask her what she wants from the family, and she says that she just wants to be closer to them. They admit that they were thinking it was them, and I love when the brother was like, "Yeah, we thought you was bougie," and his wife had to clean it up and was like, "No, we just thought that you didn't want to really want to deal with us, but
uh-huh.
and so and they expressed that they also wanted a close relationship. So she explains the trauma that she has from her ex-in-laws and going through her divorce, and this has made her more reserved. And his mother understands, is now a little bit more understanding that she was basically protecting herself. So
So Terrence was asked, why does he isolate so often? He said he knows when to speak and he knows when he needs to walk away. He said he's been married before, he raised someone else's child, and there was problems when they became, I guess, when that child became, her kid's age. Um, he said so. He gets quiet because he's lived through the trauma and the drama, and also when it comes to them, he decides he wants to fall back. He's also he also knows that if he doesn't stay quiet, it can escalate. Christian asked if he feels like um he said Christian asked if you feel like we do that to you. He said that he has trust issues. He's like, I love you, but at the end of the day, I got to protect me. So Rosalind told him it seems like, he's still holding on to a lot of pain. And the first thing I said was, clearly, therapy. Anybody suggest
right,
that to you?
right.
Or it's giving, even if they did, he probably wouldn't want to do it anyway. And he said,
Yeah,
absolutely.
no, he was. I mean, I guess I like how it ended, but I ain't even gonna hold you. I was looking at him with my nose turned up this whole episode. I didn't like
Mhm.
him playing victim. I
He
didn't.
sounds like he's a islander. Did he have a little
Yeah, I
accent?
think he did have a little island twang, and I did not. And I'm gonna be so honest with you. I did not like how he spoke to her children. I did.
Hmm.
It wasn't so much about what he said. It was the tone. It was the
Hmm.
insensitivity. It was. I didn't care
I,
for it.
I don't want to at all blame that on culture, but
Right. But do know that island code. Yeah, I do know that. I do know.
and they are a little bit more,
More stricter, like, yeah,
yeah, and direct.
indirect.
Now he did say absolutely he is holding on to some pain. He said he hasn't had anybody to run to and open up to and tell his feelings since his dad passed, and that was when I was like, a therapist,
Right.
sir. Christian asked if he feels like he has someone to go to. Um, would it help with his trust issues? And he said, yeah, and told him that he trusts them, but not 100%.
Mm.
Apparently, it was edited out, but from what I got from Christian and the mom, it seemed like he also said that he would never give anyone 100%, and that kind of stuck
And
with.
that's what I got as well.
That's what's. I wonder why they cut that out, but anyways, so the next question was, how do you feel about your relationship, Christian and Corey at home? Um, do you feel? So I was confused about this because I didn't know if this was a question or Christian was just expressing that he just feels like a guest or disturbance a lot of the time.
Hmm.
But he told Christian sometimes he had, like, he's a bit standoffish, and his mother's concerned about him. He said that he isolates himself, and Christian doesn't open up, and he doesn't want to. He said he doesn't want to pry and doesn't want to bother him. Christian said that he's sorry he made him feel that way, but he has a different perspective. I said, go on, Christian. Okay. He said the reason why I feel like a disturbance or a guest is because um I feel you know, like you're off to yourself and I don't want to disturb you with my problems. So basically, you go and isolate yourself. And when you do that, I don't want to come disturb you or rock the boat because basically you're mad. And Terrence said, I understand, but a closed mouth don't get fed. And you need to be a man about it. Sir,
Yep.
I'm still trying to learn to be a man.
Right.
You're the only man in the household to teach me. And if you're teaching me to be standoffish and isolate, why would I come to you? That's not what you're showing me.
Especially, and I love, I'm jumping ahead, but I love when they sat down later on and he
With
said,
Tracy.
yeah, well, no, with Dr. Alley.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Christian said, I feel like I can't come to you because I feel like I'm the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't, and he was like, and sometimes we don't even know what he's mad at.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm feeling like I may be the problem, I don't know what you're mad about because you're just in a funk.
I loved when Tracy told him, when he said, um, I'll go to you and you're isolating and you ain't gonna do that on my watch. And Tracy said, but why? That's what you're showing him.
Right. I know. I love when she held them to task. So then we see the family. They sit down at dinner and discuss how their task went. Butter apologizes for having a wall up with his family. I thought this was a really good moment to take accountability again. So I thought that was dope. Christian brings up his conversation with Terrance and how he addressed some of his issues. His mother asked him if he feels better, and he says he has an understanding. And feeling better might come with time. I said the way that this boy expresses him is crazy.
The other one seemed a little bit more
Yeah, right. His mother speaks on him bringing up their past relationships. Terrance thinks that they have a great relationship, but it never gets, it never gets to a point where it becomes very ugly, because that's why he isolates himself. But she is saying that that's a problem for me. It's too long. So Butter speaks up on how it's uncomfortable having to tiptoe around the house once he's in a mood, basically. And it's for everybody, not just
and
because
I could understand why that would be scary
no,
because if you've never seen a blow up, you've never
right,
seen him blow up, and he isolates to not blow up, you're worried and you feel like you have to walk on eggshells so you don't see the blow up.
right,
Because now you're afraid of the blow up because
right.
he clearly needs to go calm down for 3-4 days in order to not blow up. So you can only imagine how bad this blow up can be.
Mhm. But she's like she said, then when she said like basically, and then when you want to come back and talk 3 days later, nobody's interested.
Mhm.
And I was with her on that. He says normally when he gets that way, it's because he's frustrated with one of her sons. And this is I didn't like this either. So Christian tries to speak up and explain how he feels. And finally the sister-in-law speaks on his behalf and says that, yeah, say that you feel like you walk on eggshells, so you don't make Terrance mad. And so his mother, or I should say Butter, wants them to figure out what the problem is, what's the problem, what's causing the isolation, and they can all agree on that. Terrance says that Butter knows what the issue is, and she seems dumbfounded, and that's why I can understand how Christian is feeling,
Mhm.
because the fact that you can't say, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So she tells them they need to open up and listen to each other, or they can't accomplish anything. Terrance is tired of listening at this point. We see him getting a little aggravated. He says he feels attacked and his voice is being overlooked. Christian tells his grandma later on that he doesn't think he has a relationship with Terrance. He believes they tolerate each other. When I tell you my heart, like, I was like, that is so sad. He feels if Terrance doesn't trust people, he'll never give 100%, and that bothers him. And that's what Nels is talking about. The grandmother agreed. And he doesn't think it could be fixed in 3 days. So he feels like, they want him out so they can live in peace. His grandma basically is trying to reassure him, like, nah, that's not going to happen. Your mother would never do that. And later we see Christian saying he feels he's not able to be himself at his home. Um, and he said his fear is him being the issue.
So Patricia
Can
went
I
and talked
just
to.
say that I understand that it's different, and I do think that it's good that obviously they reached out to the show, whatever, for this therapy. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I would have ever gotten engaged if you didn't have a relationship with my kids or the living arrangement. Does that make sense?
It's weird because it seems like she was oblivious to this. It seems like this is the first time they're both being vulnerable about the relationship that they have. Because she constantly says, I know that they love each other. And
Right.
he's like, so it seems like whatever feelings they were harboring, she wasn't aware of.
Okay. Okay. Because that's the only thing. It makes me look at her a little bit sideways. Like, why are we even at the point of engagement if this is where they are as far as just a step parent? Because he's still in the house, so it does. I understand when you're older and whatever, but I do think it matters when your child is still in your home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think she knew that he felt uncomfortable or like a guest
Right.
or whatever. I think they all just kind of felt like they were walking on I think she thought like the issue was though walking on eggshells when he's isolating. I don't
Upset.
think she
Yeah.
knew all this extra stuff. But Patricia, after talking to her grandson, she went and told her daughter, okay, about how Terrance makes her son feel. And Butter said this is all news to her. She never um would make her kids move out, and she would never choose between a man and her kids. Okay. And she said this hurt her to the core. Okay. So at the next check-in with Tracy, uh, she said that she wanted to know, I'm sorry, Tracy wanted to know how the task went. And she said that it really hit her when her mom asked her, I'm sorry, when his mom asked her why she wasn't trying to connect with her. Basically, she let her know what happened with the ex mother-in-law and how she just kind of act like she was a devil. Okay.
Right.
Terrance said his task with the boys, he expressed the communication and how he isolates. Tracy said, it's the repair that's not being done. Um,
I
and he
love when she said that.
and he agreed. Um, he said in the past he raised someone's son for 15 years, and they kind of turned on him, and he was reluctant. He's been reluctant to give 100%. Tracy told him they're both coming into the situation with unresolved issues from their past.
You know what
Okay.
it also reminded me of? What she said last week's episode with Akeem and that other young lady. I can't remember her name right now. Um, where it's a, I won't say it's an A cycle, but it's a toxic cycle because you go up, you go down. You know what I mean? You have a disagreement. There's no repair. You don't talk about it, and you just go back to being normal into the next agreement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Butter said she thinks that he thinks isolation helps, but really it elevates everybody. She said that she's used to um going into a dark place, I guess like in her past relationships, and then she started to isolate, and that was the beginning of the end. Tracy told him that when he isolates, they feel very on edge, and you can't feel okay when your primary attachment figure is not speaking to you. So then she got into, Christian walking on eggshells. And he said sometimes Butter will want her to go talk to him. And, he's isolating himself. And he's like, oh, you can't do that on my watch. And Tracy's like, I don't understand. That's what
Right.
you're modeling for him. And Butter also said, she feels like she's walking on eggshells. And he said he feels it too, but he brushes it off. She said, but it doesn't work. And this man said, but it works for me. I got aggravated every time he said, okay, but that's for you, but not for me. Are you in this relationship by
No,
yourself?
I ain't even gonna hold you. Literally during that scene, I was like, I
So
don't
are
want to
you really
believe. I
thinking
don't want to
this is
believe you're
a relationship
selfish
of you?
because I don't think she would be in love with somebody like that. And
Mhm.
obviously, him moving in with her and giving up himself and coming into her life. So I don't want to say that he's selfish, but to your point, every time he said that, I said that sounds so selfish.
Even and
Like
it
you're not
aggravated me
thinking
even
about
when the mother
anybody
said it.
else.
It aggravated me even when the mother said, well, it works for him,
Right.
or it's normal for him.
So we're just
Okay, but
gonna
but but
continue to reward and tolerate
we're
bad
not.
behavior.
He's not in a relationship by himself, and if that's what he want to be, that's what he could be. But we're not just talking about him. We got to compromise. We got to figure out something that works for all of us. So Tracy said, that's the end of the relationship right there. That's why you're going into the room, and how you get back, and basically said, how do you get back into a space where you care what's happening to them?
Right.
Okay. He said he feels like all fingers are pointing at him, and every time he tries to say something, you know, it's just you're angry. Well, that's what you're giving right now, sir. And she basically told him that, that's the narrative he's painting in his own damn head. She
Basically.
said she's realizing, I'm sorry, she as in Butter said she's realizing how broken her family is. She doesn't want to be in a relationship and her boys feel like, they can't speak, or they can't be themselves. She said she found out that, her son feels like after they get married that he has to move out, and that really hurt her. And she doesn't even want him to think that. Tracy told them that they need to sit down with Dr. Allie, who's a mental health expert, to bring everything, bring all their feelings forward, um, and say all the things that they weren't able to say. And of course, he's pissed off, and, has to go find somewhere to go isolate, while
Right.
she goes to talk to, her mom about how the therapy session went.
And she's finally thinking that this might not work because he's too into self.
Exactly. And then Terrance, he went and sat down with Butter and told her that he feels like all the fingers are pointing at him and he's the bad guy. And she said, nobody's pointing fingers at you, sir. The only reason why we're here is to figure out how to work through these problems. And he's like, yeah, we'll work through them, but you have to be willing.
Right. So that part. So then they sit down with Dr. Allie to talk out their issues, all four of them, the two sons and Butter and Terrance. So Decory says that when he gets in isolation mode and basically secludes himself, him and Christian basically say that it can be scary because you're never really sure what it's about, which I mentioned earlier. He said the small situations then become big because they can't discuss it because he's isolated. All right. Terrance is visibly uncomfortable, and because I'm again noticing his body language, and he's probably feeling attacked. So Christian, and what it gives me is he's selfish and he doesn't want to be called out. You can't say anything about
Hmm.
anything that he does. So Christian said from his experience, he assumes most of it.
And, if you do, it's going to piss him off again and he's going to isolate even longer.
Right. So Christian said from his experience that he assumes most of the time that it's his fault. He said he's hopeful to have a better relationship with Terrance before they get married, and Terrance agrees that he wants to get there with Christian as well. Terrance shares the trauma from his previous relationship, which we've heard about. Um, he feels like he can't let his guard down 100%. We talked about that. He says he feels free around Butter. He said he feels free around Butter, and that's why he leaves. So he basically doesn't destroy that basically with his anger is what I got from that.
Hmm.
Dr. Allie asked why he learned, or basically where he learned to be so defensive. And he talks about, growing up in a rough neighborhood and, just possibly being bullied or picked on.
It sounds like being blamed for stuff that he didn't do.
Right. And basically, Dr. Allie tells him that he probably has a form of PTSD. Christian says that Terrance is so tense and it makes him feel like he doesn't like him, even though he knows that he does. And, he says that he respects him. And so he basically is just trying to find out where they stand. But he's also scared to do so because he doesn't want to anger him. So Terrance receives what Christian is saying and says that he, basically he wants it to be reciprocal. He wants the same things. Dr. Allie sees that they're both scared because no one wants to hurt each other. Butter then brings up his comments about feeling like he had to move and feeling like a guest in his own home. And Dr. Allie points out that he can, instead of being traumatized or using what happened in his past relationship, and I really like Dr.
I
Allie,
really did. I really liked the way she said that. Yeah.
instead of using, oh, I don't want to get close to anybody because of what I experienced in this past relationship, why don't you use that? And now you have someone who wants that with you, who wants
And
to get
it'll help
close
heal you.
to help heal you. Yes. And I said, yes, Dr. Allie. And so, yeah, basically Christian said he's absolutely learned how to be a man from Terrance and he respects him. They all hug it out at the end, and Terrance admits it felt good being vulnerable, admits that, he may have PTSD after speaking with Dr. Alley. And I do believe he said that he was considering or thinking about, or no, he did say in the last session he's thinking about considering going to
Yeah.
get personal help. So I did think that was dope. I just, like I said, how sometimes people have bad behavior and then, God
Hmm.
forbid, give them a condition to explain it away.
Yeah. So in the final session with Tracy, uh, you know, they reported that they had a breakthrough.
They
Okay.
did. I do think they had a breakthrough.
Terrance said it was much needed. He said he didn't know Christian was suffering from bullying and he felt, like that, and said that, he could come talk to him about anything because he felt like everything was his fault and he didn't know that. He said he didn't know all that he was going through. Butter said that she was grateful because they were both able to be open and vulnerable because she knows that they both love each other and they both want to get back to the way things are. And he realizes that he doesn't need, that he does need therapy to help him get over things from his past. And then at the blessing ceremony, they received blessings from both sides of the family. I ain't go through all the all the
No, no,
stuff.
no, that's
But
fine.
they,
I think
they
that's
all received blessings from everyone.
Yep. And we do see, I think the follow-up was they did get married in the Dominican Republic, and
Mhm.
all the family was present there to support them. So kudos to them. I think that that's a beautiful ending, for once, to this family of fiance. Because it actually did seem like they had a breakthrough, and I just hope they continue to do the work. But yeah,
Yeah.
y'all drop down in the comments, let us know what you thought about this episode. If you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead and hit that like button.
Make sure you comment
Make sure that you guys are subscribed,
and you hit the notification bell.
and make sure you're following us on all the platforms, the TikTok, IG, Blue Sky, and Facebook. And yeah, y'all, we will catch you next week for another family or fiance. Have a good night.
Good night.
Mm, mm, mm.